What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we have an awesome review. But first things first, please click that like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed, ding the bell so you get notified every time we drop a new video. And thanks for watching.
Yes, indeed.
Today's video is a knife I didn't expect to pick up. Way back, I say way back like it's been a long time. Like, I don't know, how long ago was that? A couple weeks?
Yeah.
We went down to Chattanooga to visit our friends down at EKnives. And I had a few little knives that I was planning on picking up. We knew we were going to end up buying some things. And I was going to get a combat Troodon. Real cool one. Orange, black hardware, black blade. Get there, and it just so happened that I lucked out and found this bad boy, which is a Microtech Scarab II out the front, or OTF knife. And we're going to review it.
Yeah, the cool thing about EKnives is them being kind of so in tune with feeling the way that, or understanding the way you feel when you purchase a knife. That's sort of the thing that they talked about the most. And, you know, they don't have any problem with sales. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah.
So they definitely don't need us. But at the end of the day, we hope we can send you there in the very least so you can get some cool stuff. Go in, because you're going to get it. There's a handful of knives that don't make it online, and they do that on purpose so that you get a chance. If you take the time to go and visit them in their little showroom, and it's growing fast, you're going to get an opportunity to see some cool stuff. You're going to get a chance to pick up some swag, but
Meet them, see the dogs,
see the pups, and you're going to get a chance to see some knives that aren't online. They have them in the showroom. There's probably a grail for you that you've been looking for or would be willing to pull the trigger on if you could just handle it first.
Yeah. Well, so I went in and I had one of the cool things that they do there before we jump into the review is you can. It really does. Yeah. You can buy online, and then instead of having it shipped, you can pick it up in store. So I was already planning on picking up my knife, sent them an email, or maybe I messaged them. Another cool thing that you can do is, careful, you can put a hole in that bottle. Another cool thing you can do is text them. So their phone number at EKnives is textable. You can text them things. And I said, hey, we're going to come down there. Instead of you shipping my knife, can I just come pick it up? And because we're in Tennessee and they're in Tennessee, we'll get our knives the next day. But I knew we were going down there the next day. So go in, excited to get my combat Troodon, amongst other knives, and ran into this. And guys, if you're not familiar with the Microtech Scarab II, it's a pretty highly sought after out the front knife. It's got an action unlike any other OTF that I've handled, with the exception of like a single action. It's the most aggressive double action out the front that I have personally fired, I would say.
Yeah, me too. It's
got some punch.
Powerful. It has some punch. I mean, you saw it hit that bottle. But yeah, I mean, Clunk. Yeah, it's like tank tracks, man. I absolutely love that.
It's got some cool little things. I really like their little trigger here. The little steps with like the X. It's kind of reminds me of the Dirac.
You know what it is? Because it's so big, the switch is so big, it's easy on the thumb. There's a ton of power to overcome, but you have good leverage. You see what I mean?
I think it's the same mechanism or button that they use for the Dirac, however you say it.
Oh, it could be.
It looks the same because I recognize the X, the little X pattern that's on there.
But this is a big knife. This is a big knife. Let's jump in.
Yeah. So Ergos.
For an OTF, pretty good. It's definitely Microtech Ergos, right? This is a big version of an Ultratech. This is a kind of a combat version of an Ultratech. And we'll get the specs on it. What do you remember the length? It looks like a 4-inch.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's right at 4 inches, I'm sure. If I had my pad, I would.
We'll throw it up there. We'll have our little details pop up.
Yeah, and let's see how much does she weigh. It's not bad.
About 6 ounces.
Just right under 5 3/4 ounces. So at 5 3/4 ounces, and boy, you can tell that this thing is a chunk. But ergos are really good. I would say, OTF ergos are always going to be a little bit of a struggle because it's an OTF. It's a 7 out of 10 for me, which is good because it's so big, it's so thick. The recesses in here with sort of the rubberized texture are grippy. The jimping is reasonable. Your skin goes in there and locks in pretty good. And you naturally gravitate toward the switch based on where the flow of everything is. So
I think the switch really adds to the grippiness of it as well.
It does. That's a big chunk.
I think I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10 as well for ergos. Again, that switch being so grippy, the skateboard tape. Out of OTS.
And that's a rubberized skateboard tape texture. That's not like skateboard tape like sandpaper.
Right.
So I want to be clear about that. Some knives use that. That's not what this is.
Yeah, you'll be able to kind of.
This is like the texture of skateboard tape, but it's rubber.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not going to rip your pockets up.
It's pretty ergonomic. It's not as ergonomic as like a combat Troodon. It doesn't have that kind of upswept design that the combat Troodon does.
It's a stick with jimping.
And I don't think it's
an Ultratech.
I don't think it's as well as this Hydra, but I think it's up there. I think the width really helps.
Yes.
I think the jimping helps. The skateboard tape helps, and then it's got this very minor jimping along the spines.
Yeah.
7 out of 10.
Yeah, it's good.
Tactical.
Yeah, it's a 9 out of 10 for tactical. Just the intimidation factor alone. Heaven forbid you ever had to draw a knife for that purpose, but boy, when this thing fires, it fires with intent. Yeah,
and it's just looking at some of the grooves on that blade, it's definitely made for wet work.
Yeah, it's for piercing, and it's even the spine is fluted, which is interesting, and it's fluted on the sides. But when we do the B-roll, you'll see, as we roll.
And even at the base of the blade there.
The flutes at the bottom are epic. And this actually has some drain holes at the bottom, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious? You are really not going to be carrying this in water. I mean, how much does the knife run?
It was 5.5.
Yeah. So, you ain't carrying this in the water. If you are, bravo. I mean, I would.
That's MSRP. I mean, because this knife is very challenging to find, you're going to find a fluctuation in price. But MSRP, if you can find it at a store, it's about 5.5.
Yeah, and so, very tactical. Yeah, definitely a tactical knife. It fits in the hand well. It's not going anywhere because it's so big.
It really, because of the size of it, it really adds that Kubotan level.
Yeah, it really does.
You get the glass breaker, of course. Like you said, the drain holes.
Oh, yeah.
Really sizable tactical blade. I mean, honestly, the only reason I would say it's not 10 out of 10 is because it's an OTF. It's not a wave system knife, which is the fastest deploying knife.
Deployment is key in all tactical scenarios.
Right.
Period. I mean, when we talk to guys, like even in church scenarios with some of the unfortunate shootings, we've had those conversations, and it's like, how quickly can you, get to a weapon, right? And that affects its tactical nature.
And if you're having to reach for a knife.
Well, that's a different situation. That's more a pistol conversation, but the idea is still the same. Speed. That's the key.
But yeah, I mean, guys, for a tactical situation, I think this knife is excellent.
And you're going to gravitate toward the switch. It's natural. It goes where it needs to go.
And when you think about other OTFs, I think this one, beyond other ones, is made for more of a combat use type knife. And the only reason I say that is because of these drain holes. Like, this knife is made to be in some nasty situations as far as, on some kit.
It's so powerful that I bet you it would fire underwater continuously.
Probably.
Probably, right? Whereas like an Ultratech and maybe a Manticore may not, that dampening effect would probably stop them from full deployment. When we do some of the OTF reviews and which type of OTF you should get, there's a few options there. But this is the slide switch OTF is going to vary, and this dude here is a tank when it comes to the slide switch.
I would like to know kind of the the mindset behind the design of this, just because it's clear that they designed this for some, sticky areas.
Well, you're going to be able to pull it with gloves on, I bet.
Well, yeah, of course, because you got the big thumb switch. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very, very tactical. You gonna grab some gloves?
Not that these are the kind of gloves you'd be rocking, but let's see. Dude.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd be the type of person that would actually be using my Microtech out in the yard, like cutting up branches and stuff. Like, I am that guy. And I would be trying to fumble with something, and these heavy leather gloves, you got to have a substantial knife to use with gloves, especially working gloves that are thick, right? I don't know mechanics gloves, but mechanics gloves might be easier because they're softer.
They are,
more
yeah.
pliable. But, from a working standpoint, for some bluish collar work,
yeah,
a white collar paycheck with a blue collar job,
yeah, lineman,
right? This would be great. Actually, you know what? One of the pastors at church works for Comcast, and I bought him a thick, heavy OTF because he's in a bucket, and when he goes up in the bucket, it's nice to grab, hit a switch, and it go back.
Yeah.
And so when I got him that OTF for his birthday, that was the idea. It'd be utilitarian, not tactical.
So helicopter pilots.
EDC.
It does. Well, it does actually. Yeah. But helicopter pilots in the military and sometimes helicopter crews, they get issued Benchmade infidels because of the one-handed operation. So one-handed operation can come in handy for a lot of people, and it makes me think of like somebody like in a bucket, linemen, people like that, because it does make a difference because you're keeping a hand, on your strap or your belt or your bucket
or you're
whatever.
Just you're engaged up here,
right? And you're holding something, doing,
and you're grabbing here. Flipping is fine. It probably work most of the time, but an OTF, it's full grip.
Yeah,
boom, boom, right thumb.
Yeah. So EDC. I
go first.
It don't really matter.
It is. I just want to grab the knife again. It is definitely EDCable, without a doubt. So let's talk about the blade. The blade shape is the perfect EDC blade shape. It is kind of that clippish, dropish, pointish. Yeah, it's mostly drop point, but it's a straight edge at the bottom with a little bit of belly. It's that classic EDC blade shape, so it is ideal for
it's
EDC.
Almost got a little bit of a spear point there.
Yeah. Yep. And
which makes sense.
It does have a distal taper, which is the taper leading to the tip for its ability to be a thrusting knife. But from an EDC task, it's a little big for EDC. There's no doubt about that. It's a little heavy for EDC. It does
fill your pocket.
Right. So it's probably like, for me, a 6 out of 10 on EDC. This would be your tactical EDC. This is not an EDC knife. Capable of EDC tasks, we just demonstrated the advantages of a large knife with big gloves. But most people who have this knife aren't wearing this, right? And so, probably a 6 out of 10 for me. It's big, it's heavy. It's probably not going to be my go-to. I'm not opening it up in mixed company. I'm not firing it. That goes for most of my OTFs. I mean, same thing with a Manticore. It's just so big that it's just not the EDC choice for me.
No, it's 100% when I carry it. I'm carrying it in a tactical perspective. It's not a knife. I've got other knives. It's for cutting cardboard and things. Like, it's not a knife that I'm going to buy and use with, I'm not going out to buy it thinking, hey, I'm going to go hunt. I'm going to use my Microtech to skin a deer.
Certainly could.
Certainly could, for sure, but there's better knives.
I'd be having to disassemble it, though, and get all that blood and guts out of there because I wouldn't want it in there.
Yeah, so there's other knives for that. EDC, what did you say, 7 out of 10?
Yeah, I said 6.
6, yeah.
It's a little big and chunky.
Yeah, it is a little big and chunky, and again, that's not my intention to buy it. I'll say it's 7 out of 10 just because I already said it. Blade shape, obviously very EDC-esque blade shape. You could use that for basic cutting and things.
I'm not as big of a fan of the Ultratech blade shapes that are similar to this because I don't like how thin they are, how narrow they are, rather. Mm-hmm. That one is so wide that I'm like, yes, that I agree with. So this is like I would like the Ultratech to be this wide but thin. Does that make sense? Like, I like the width because you get a deeper angle on the cut, like I've talked about several times.
Ultratech and the standard Troodon, their edges are very surgical. I feel like they're very micro.
Yes, they are. Yeah,
which is a challenge to sharpen.
Yes.
But yeah, 7 out of 10. Again, there's way better knives and way cheaper knives for EDC than this.
Cool factor.
Is that where we're at? Cool factor.
So.
Let's see. Yeah, cool factor. Sorry, had to double check.
10 out of 10. This is cool. Like I enjoy everything about this knife from a cool factor standpoint. Microtech, the way they finish stuff, they do the subtleties that make things cool. The subtlety.
Yeah.
Subtlety.
It's all in the details.
Subtlety is the key. Like, look at the brand of Under Armour. See how it's black with gray? It's subtle. That's the key. Just that little pop of color is what you want. The spine is smooth.
It's got a cool profile.
And all of the milling work is awesome. It would have been cooler if it were apocalyptic. I mean, no doubt. I mean, that's really cool. But even with it just a standard stone wash, the cool factor is there. It's big too, and the fact that if you overlaid the rhythm right, you could almost do like a right tank tracks. So. Cool factor for me is huge. And look at the little Scarab beetle. Sorry, I'm stealing all your thunder. Go ahead.
The Scarab, when you go on Microtech's website, it's the first knife you see. But it was so funny when I saw it, I'm like, oh, where is this knife? I love the blade. Specifically for me, I loved the little cutouts here. When I first saw it, and I was like, where's this knife? I've never seen it before. Yeah. And you go hunting for it. Finally find a name, you realize you can't buy it because it's sold out everywhere. That's why I told myself mentally, if I have a Scarab,
for the money, I mean, when you think about it, the Manticore X is a similar price to that. You are getting a lot for your money on a Scarab if you can find one.
You really are, and it goes to
it's so overbuilt, it's so big that you're just like, okay, wow.
Yeah, and some of you guys or girls who are into knives and are finding yourselves having to justify your knife hobby, this is the perfect example. For the cost that it is, you can easily resell it for what you paid for it or more.
Yeah, because nobody can find them in the wild.
Right, and it's a knife. It's a knife that'll hold its value. Obviously, so you can hear me say it, 10 out of 10.
I was about to ask what your number is.
But it's just cool. It's got some really, really cool features. I mean, obviously we've talked about every single thing that's cool on it. I don't think we missed anything. Even the detail in the pocket clip here, or not pocket clip, but the skull crusher, window breaker, glass breaker, whatever you want to call it. They just did it right, in my opinion. And honestly, the only thing that I would have preferred over this is a DLC version, where it was just all blacked out. So definitely 10 out of 10. That leads us to overall.
Overall, because I like the knife so much, it's really, really difficult.
Yeah, but we got to take into consideration all our little scores.
Yeah, I know, and that's why the overall is probably an 8 out of 10 for me overall.
Yeah,
it's big, it's heavy, it's kind of singular minded, but it is super duper cool, and the chunk factor is there. So if you're a Medford guy, this would be your OTF, and I'm a Medford guy, so this would be an OTF for me that I would really enjoy. I like the fact that it's big, and it doesn't, look at that mitt, it doesn't shrink in the mitt, and I have big old ugly mitts, and there you go. And that knife right there looks appropriate, so I like that, because other knives look like dainty in my hand.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with the Ultratechs, right? Like they're just small, which is cool, and that's
because they're EDC knives.
Yeah, the Ultratech is it's kind of like the OTF that kind of started it all.
Well, it's the standard.
Right.
Yeah. But this has a more specific purpose.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. I think for our CP overall, it's definitely 8 out of 10. And the only I hate not giving it a higher score because it feels like we're not doing it justice. But you got to take into consideration all our other.
Look, if you're buying it for cool factor, dude, it's a 10. If you're buying it for tactical, it's a 9, right? So it's right. It's at the highest levels possible. But when you take into account what we use knives for, what the purpose is, and for carryability and EDC ability, all of the ergos and all of those things, yeah, it makes sense for it to be there.
Mm-hmm.
The coolest knife on the planet is probably not going to be a 10 overall because you're never going to use it.
Good point.
Right? What's the pleasure of not cutting something with your knife?
That's true. That's very true. And again, it all depends on the customer.
Doesn't stop us from buying.
True. Very true. It depends on the customer. Everybody buys a knife for a different purpose.
That's right. So there you go.
Guys, hope you enjoyed this review.
Of a little bit of functional fantasy.
Yeah.
Because it's such a big chunky knife, it is kind of a fantasy knife with all the fluting and
any OTF
overbuilt.
Knife,
any OTF brings you the fantasy side, right, of that movie knife of wanting to have that.
Yeah. It's very sci-fi. Yeah. Microtech does a good job making like a sci-fi type knife. So
yeah, no doubt about it.
Guys, hope you appreciated the review of the Scarab II. As always, thanks for watching and stay sharp.
Yeah, stay sharp.